Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So I got pretty lucky. I went to Goodwill a while ago. I bought some DVDs. I bought like four DVDs actually, and one of them was a two-disc set of Wayne's World. So it has the first movie and the second movie. Now this one, the first movie, this is actually my second time seeing it, so that's pretty nice. And with the second movie, I've never seen it at all, so that I'm actually excited to check it out. I hope it's as funny as the first. Because there's like a bunch of SNL movies, um, but this is one of my favorites. I think just because, like, with the Wayne's World sketches in SNL, those are some like I'd actually. I mean, I've seen a lot of SNL. I was doing like a whole watch through and everything the past 2 years. But yeah, these were some of my favorite sketches. Like sometimes I find Wayne and Garth kind of funny, and sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends. But the movie's fun. Honestly, I'm gonna kind of try to go through my notes like a little bit faster, just because I want to have time to watch the second movie as well. Because I only get to watch stuff on the DVD player in certain days. Let me see. Movie starts off with these people watching TV, and it shows the Chia Pet commercial at one point, and I miss seeing that. I used to see that on TV and like Cartoon Network when I was a kid. I even have parts of it memorized. But it shows like a bunch of commercials from like the 90s, and even though I grew up in the 2000s, I still remember some of those commercials or just the type of some of those commercials, the infomercials where they're trying to sell stuff. And I feel like I don't really see those on TV anymore, and it kind of bums me out. So it makes me a little bit nostalgic. They do this thing kind of like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is probably not the first movie to do this. That's just always what I associate it with, where they talk to the camera. And at first, they do it in like a similar way, with both Wayne and Garth. And I find it kind of funny because like Wayne actually doesn't really talk to the camera that much, only at like certain points in the movie. And then I noticed with Garth, he does it where he'll feel like really anxious and being around people, and then he'll go to like talk to the camera and kind of motion you to go in like another room, and he'll just like talk into the camera and stuff, and it like calms him down. I thought that was kind of cool. Garth, I think, was my favorite character when I first watched this movie. Now it's the guy that owns the donut shop, which I'll talk about that when I get in there, um, with my notes. But I think Garth is my second favorite because he has so much just really weird dialogue. He'll just say whatever the first thing that pops in his mind is, and I wrote some of those lines in here. But it makes him pretty funny, honestly. He's a fun character to watch. Like it's interesting because like Wayne is very obviously the main character, where he's trying to like hook up with this woman named Cassandra, and he's kind of the one that's in charge of the show and everything, the Wayne's World show. Wayne is like very much the main character. Garth isn't really like the sidekick or anything. Garth just feels like he's doing his own thing half the time, or he's just kind of there and just kind of lives in his own world. And I think that makes him more of an entertaining character to watch. The part where they sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the car, I forgot that's actually towards the beginning of the movie. That's one of my favorite scenes. I love that song. I love Queen. I wouldn't be surprised if that song became popular again, because of this movie. I'm assuming so. But it's a really fun scene where they're singing in the car, and I like that the actors in the scene and stuff, they're singing along, but the song is louder than their vocals. I kind of appreciate that because a lot of movies they'll have it where it's like it's only a little bit of the song and you can hear more of like the characters singing than like the actual song. But like Bohemian Rhapsody is great. I mean, I feel like everyone sings along to it in the car. I do myself, but I like that they really give you a chance. You want to hear Freddie Mercury's vocals instead of like the actors singing and stuff. And I'm actually really happy they play. I think it was most or just straight up the full song. It's a pretty long song from what I remember, but they don't just like cut it off or something. Because sometimes in movies they're singing in the car and they'll only play like a very small section of the song. But like with Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like, come on, you got to hear the whole thing. So I appreciate that they really kind of give it its space and have enough time for it in the movie and everything. Because it's a actually I don't remember how long this movie is. I was gonna say it's a short movie, but no, it was probably like an hour and a half or something. That's how it felt. And I like that with Wayne and Garth, especially. I really like the beginning of the movie where it's just kind of them doing their thing. You get a sense of what their lives are like, and then eventually, Wayne ends up meeting Cassandra, and then their show ends up getting bought by this guy named Benjamin, who's Rob Lowe's character. And then you don't really see Wayne and Garth together much anymore, or really just doing stuff. But I really like the beginning of the movie where it's just them in Chicago living their lives, you know? Like, they go around talking to people. Everyone kind of just knows them. It's really chill. They're, like, kind of interested in, like, seeing how people are doing. Like, there's this cop they end up talking to, and he's talking about doing these, like, searching people through their mouths or whatever. And they seem like they tease him a little bit. They kind of just make fun of everybody. But they do seem, like, actually interested in what other people have to say, and I kind of like that. They're pretty chill. But my favorite character is the guy that owns the donut shop. It's kind of funny because it's the first time in the movie where someone other than Wayne and Garth like talks into the camera. Like the way he's introduced is great. Where Wayne is like finishing talking to the camera and he's saying like, "This is so and so, the donut shop owner, and this is the best place to get donuts." And then the donut owner starts talking into the camera and he says this stuff of like, when you kill another man in battle, it's heroic, but if it's in the heat of passion, it's murder. The donut seller guy is my favorite character because he only talks for some reason about like ways to kill people or whatever. It just always feels like it comes out of nowhere, but it's really funny. It happens like 3 times in the movie. If they don't bring him back for the sequel, I'm gonna be disappointed. Let's see. There's another character named Stacy. She actually doesn't have too big of a role. She's Wayne's ex. They had broken up, but she treats it like they're still dating to the point where she wears a necklace with his name on it. I actually felt kind of bad for her than anything. And then when Wayne ends up with Cassandra, they end up talking about Stacy and about her having low self-esteem, and they also sort of feel sorry for her. And then she's trying to hook up with other people throughout the movie, but it's only so she could try to win Wayne back, and she just cannot believe that their relationship is over, and I kind of feel bad for her in that sense. I like that a lot of the movie takes place at night, actually, especially the beginning when the characters are, like, driving around, they're going to this donut place, they're going to nightclubs and stuff. I feel like it gives it, like, kind of a nice vibe, makes it feel more cool. I noticed that Garth, never actually shakes anyone's hand, like Wayne always does, or people will try to like shake their hands meeting them, but Garth never does. He just kind of awkwardly he stands there. He's just like a very awkward character. I feel like it ends up being he ends up being really relatable a lot of the time. Maybe that's part of the reason that I liked him. And then Rob Lowe's, I completely forgot that Rob Lowe was in this movie. But I mean, this is an SNL movie. So they have cameos from like all kinds of people or like well-known actors and stuff playing characters. He plays this guy named Benjamin that like also has feelings for Cassandra and is trying to manipulate the show and stuff. He's okay. Hold on, I'm just kind of scrolling through my notes. There's this one part where Wayne and Cassandra, they're talking in Cantonese, and Wayne eventually, because the English subtitles on the bottom that are part of the movie are still going and going, and Wayne eventually stops talking because he started going on in some long speech about like Stacy or whatever, and he stops talking, and at first I thought something was wrong with the audio, and then he looks down at the subtitle and he's like waiting for them to finish or whatever. It kind of reminded me of some of the subtitle jokes in Austin Powers, but I always like when movies do that. It's kind of funny. But yeah, Garth has so many funny lines. Like there's this part where he meets this lady. I think it's like the wife of this guy that owns a bunch of arcades. It's like Noah's Arcades or whatever. And he says something like, "Oh, it's like a new pair of underwear. It's constrictive and becomes a part of you." Or there's a part when he's with Wayne and they're laying on top of a car and looking up at the stars, and he just says out of nowhere, like, "Did you ever find Bugs Bunny attractive when he's wearing a dress and is being a girl bunny?" And Wayne's just like, "No," and Garth's just like, "Oh, me neither. I was just wondering." Garth just says a lot of stuff like that, just all the time. It's kind of funny, cause you never know what he's gonna say next. And then I like his dog too. I don't remember what the name of his dog is, but his dog has the exact same haircut that Garth does, and I found that really funny. They also have this thing where Garth, you see it in one scene, but I wanted more context of it. He's just building a robot in his basement. There's a part when Benjamin goes to talk to him and he says, "Oh, Garth, we've never really had the chance to talk." And they don't really have a conversation because Benjamin's just kind of talking at Garth, and Garth's just kind of like, "Uh huh." But he's like that towards a lot of people. And you see there's a robot hand on the table that looks like it has kind of like human skin. It almost looks like a mannequin hand, and it starts kind of moving around, and Garth just like beats it with a hammer. Um, but yeah, Garth is building a robot. The movie never addresses it again. I'm half expecting for the sequel for the robot to just be in his basement or something. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. And then within that same scene, um, Benjamin asks Garth for his opinion on something with the show, and Garth just goes, "We fear change," and then he just beats the robot hand with the hammer. It was great. I really like the sponsor joke. It's one of my favorites in the movie, um, where Wayne and Garth are talking about how they'd never sell out, and they're wearing like different branded clothing. There's a part when Wayne drinks a Pepsi and smiles at the camera to the point where the further the joke goes on, the more it starts kind of looking like a commercial. That was pretty funny. There's one part where they just straight up parody the intro to Laverne and Shirley, and it was funnier to me this time because when I first watched this movie when I was younger, I hadn't seen that show. At least I'm pretty sure it's Laverne and Shirley. Um, Wait, now I kind of want to double check that. That's what I was assuming at first, where they're in like the bottle factory and stuff, and they even have the same song too. That was great. Yeah, yeah, I was right. It was Laverne and Shirley. Okay, I just had to double check really quick because as soon as I saw in the movie, I was like, "Oh, Laverne and Shirley," and I had to like think about it. Yeah, because they even have the same sign of "Welcome to to Milwaukee." But yeah, I haven't watched like the entire show. I've only seen I used to watch a couple episodes of it with my mom, but that was like between viewings of this movie, so it was nice I was able to get that reference. Because the first time I watched, I just thought like, oh, it's just like a funny little joke or whatever. But it's funny they parody the show. I'm just surprised that's a reference to that show of all things, but whatever. And then they get Alice Cooper for this movie. Like the characters mention about like, oh, backstage passes to a Alice Cooper concert. I thought it was just gonna like show footage of the concert or something. No, they just straight up get Alice Cooper and he does like an actual performance as if you're like at one of the concerts and he gets to do a full song and everything, and it's great. It's really cool. And then Wayne and Garth get to talk to him backstage and they do that thing they do in the sketches where they're like, "We're not worthy, we're not worthy." I completely forgot that was like one of their things they do, until it popped up in the movie again, but that was like a great placement for it. I didn't remember Chris Farley being in this movie at all. He's in like one scene where he plays the security guard, but I always think he's pretty cool, so it's nice to see him here. Because there's like a couple other SNL movies he's in as well. I mean, he's in like some of his own, like Tommy Boy. I gotta talk about that movie at some point. It's pretty funny. Um, Let me see. I only have like a couple of notes left. I think it's kind of interesting when Wayne and Garth, when their show has been like so taken over that they have to read like cards, but they only give the cards to Wayne, and Wayne ends up walking out because they changed too much of the show, like making their little song sound like a commercial jingle or whatever. And then it's just Garth alone, and I felt so bad for him. He just completely freezes up because Wayne's the one that does most of the talking on the show, and Garth's just kind of like there and he's like chilling and stuff. But Garth isn't the kind of person that could take the lead on doing the show, so he just very awkwardly stares into the camera. And then I'm glad that, like, I think the next scene or a couple scenes later, Garth actually calls out Wayne for being a jerk, and then they have the plane fly by like usual, and Garth is just like cursing the heck out of Wayne. I almost wish we could hear what he was saying. Or I wonder if Dana Carvey's actually like saying the words or anything, or if he's just like mouthing stuff. They have a cover of Ballroom Blitz at the end of this movie. That's pretty cool because Cassandra. Oh yeah, I haven't really talked about her much. Yeah, she's the lead singer of a band, and you get to hear her sing a couple times. But I like when she gets to sing that song at the end. It sounded pretty cool. And then the ending's kind of a joke where they do this like bad ending thing first, where it's like everything that can go wrong goes wrong, and then they're like, let's do the Scooby Doo ending. So they have it start out the same way, and they do the thing with Benjamin where they're like, let's see who's really behind the mask. I half expected it to be that they were gonna pull the skin off his face or something. Um, but then I thought, oh yeah, that's probably too gory for a movie like this. But no, instead they make it where it's like he's actually an old man or something, and then they do it with like a normal ending. But even then, they make it where it's so over the top. Where like, oh yeah, there's this girl, um, Garth's dream girl. I think she's referred to this lady, that works at the donut shop or something. And I like how she just shows up out of nowhere and kisses Garth. I'm kind of half expecting there to be a joke in the sequel where they're just suddenly dating out of nowhere. I don't think we even no, I think we do learn her name. Maybe we like barely know anything about her, but Garth's always just kind of staring at her and stuff. And then the movie like pretty much ends there. It's just them making fun of a bunch of different kind of movie endings basically. And then they actually talk during the credits. I've never watched the credits of this movie because I think I saw this on TV like once. Um, or it might have been on like Netflix or something. I usually don't watch credits, but I'm like trying to more often. But they talk a little bit in the credits, isn't like too funny or anything. But still, that's kind of cool. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this. I haven't seen this movie in like quite a while, but it's pretty funny. Because I'd watched SNL, like some of the older episodes and stuff, like sometime like last year, which included going through like the '90s stuff. So the sketches aren't like super recent in my head, but it's sort of recent enough where it feels like kind of nice to see these characters again. But okay, I'm actually gonna go watch the sequel right now. I'm hoping that maybe it'll be okay because sometimes when comedies get sequels, it's like they're not as funny as the first. But I'm also kind of curious because the sequel was made like a year after this one came out, so crossing my fingers it'll at least be a bit funny. We'll see. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye bye.